Welcome to the Spartan Up Podcast. I'm Kevin Paulus, Jackson Bast, and special guest Trevor Rich this week as we talk all things MBU athletics. So, gentlemen, pretty good week of athletics. A lot going on as far as MBU is concerned this week.
Yeah, and last week was obviously a much different story. Most of it was either on the road or we didn't actually have a lot going on last week, but it was not a terrible week for MBU.
No, it was not.
And Trevor, you've been admiring our work here on the Spartan Podcast. How does it feel to actually get a microphone and get to say your piece?
It feels fantastic. I've always wanted to be on a podcast, and to be with Kevin and Jackson, I don't know if there's two better people to co-host a podcast with here at Missouri Baptist.
So Jackson, just be ready to turn his mic off if he continues with that sort of thing. So let's get into our actual games this week. We'll start with women's volleyball. 16-5 all the year. They're 8-1 in the Heart of America. Still ranked number 17. A little bit of an up and down week, an exciting night at Maryville, but unfortunately lose in the sweep to the Saints. So 3-0 there, but then they turn around and beat Missouri Valley College on Friday night 3-0. So kind of an up and down week, lose to a D2 school, but then get back in conference and take care of business.
And you always hate to lose the Conway Clash. It's a testament. We've only lost twice ever in the Conway Clash, and this one, of course, we're missing a couple pieces to help Maryville on their side, but they bounced back, took care of business when they went down to Marshall.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming up this week, a couple of games are going to be back home, which is nice. The women's volleyball will be hosting Culver Stockton College and also William Woods. That's Tuesday and Friday. So let's move on, talk a little bit about men's soccer. 3-5-3 is their record on the season. A good win for them on Saturday. I know all of us were busy with football, but as that was happening actually shortly after a win over Graceland 2-1 on Saturday. So Trevor, the men's soccer kind of gets it turned back in the right direction again.
They sure do. It was great to see them pick up their third victory of the season, as you mentioned, Kevin. A goal from Anel, not quite sure how you pronounce his last name.
Smolovich.
There we go, in the 6th minute. And then another goal from Adele and Adele, very similar names, in the 82nd minute. Or sorry, no, the goal in the 6th minute was Anel Tahirovic. Is that how you pronounce his last
Sure,
name?
we'll go with that.
And then Adele Smolovich, as you said, Kevin. Great way to pick up a 2-1 win there, and it's always good to pick up Heart of America Conference victory.
So here's the strategy, Jackson. Every time that we talk men's soccer, we're going to throw it to him and just let him pronounce the names.
Let me go.
Yeah, just let him roll with the last names of our soccer players.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if that one trumps listening to Jake Broyles pronounce some of those names. I mean, he had last year Edvin Mahmutovic.
Yep.
He pronounced
Big Eddie.
Mahumtovic.
Oh, boy.
I don't even know how you get that from Mahmutovic.
That's
totally not here to throw Jake under the bus.
That's embarrassing. But,
I think it's cool that just to continue to talk about that 2-1 performance, Adele's goal in the 82nd minute was a penalty kick. So great to see him convert on
PK.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And men are back at it. It's going to be a little bit tougher on Saturday. 6 o'clock kick against Receiving Votes Mount Mercy. So that will be the opponent. Women's soccer, they tied Graceland on Saturday. No goals in the game, but another shutout for the Raising Cane's Player of the Month.
Mm-hmm. Jordan Mary has had a great game herself. Did you get the number of saves that she recorded?
I did not. I did not write that down.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's still good. I do know that they were outshot in that game by a lot, and she ended up getting the clean sheet, as they call it in soccer as well. So the good news, you get a tie on the road, you get a draw on the road. The bad news, girls continue. Oh, what? The reaction there to the stats.
Good 12 saves.
12 saves.
Like
nice.
we got, like you said, a lot more shots from the other side.
A season high for her as well.
That's a lot. And she got the job done and earns them a point, if you will, with that tie. The good news, you get a tie on the road against Graceland. The bad news, offensive struggles continue. The women's soccer team has not scored a goal since September 20th. So gonna have to. That's 3 matches in a row. I just think the have not, as Natalie Gum said, put it in the back of the net because she said that a few times during the podcast. We love Natalie.
We love Natalie.
So yeah, they're back at it 3:00 on Saturday, Mount Mercy as well. So moving on to cross country, men's and women's competed in the Seminole Stampede. Is that right? Is that what it's called? And pretty good results, especially on the women's side.
Yeah, I mean, Aminetti. Just at the time of this podcast, we do know that she did claim Heart Runner of the Week, but man, what a performance by the freshman! And actually, I was just stopped in the hallway by happenstance by Coach, and he told me on Thursday she actually wasn't even planning to run in
Really?
that event. A couple little things with injuries, and she decided that she was gonna bounce back, and obviously made a few more adjustments from what we've seen early, where she would be out the gate 100 yards in front of everybody, but she kept pace and took home the gold to start out that women's squad.
Not only did she win it, she won it by a large margin as well. Like her, I believe it was 30 seconds or more. She was in front of the second place finisher. So just an outstanding result. Also, Adrienne Roquette, 13th, and Julia Wharton finished 18th in the race. So 3 in the top 20 on the women's side. As far as the men, they finished, I don't know if I said it, but the women were 4th out of 17 teams. The men ended up 8th out of 23, and Nicholas Fear finished 29th. He was the top finisher for cross country on the men's side, and cross country gets to rest this week, other than practice, obviously, but they are off before going to Greenville next week. So get a little bit of time down. So saved it to last, as we always do. Right in Trevor's wheelhouse, let's talk a little bit about football as the Spartans lose to Benedictine 52-21 to the number 3 team in the country. So take it away, Trevor. Your thoughts on the game on Saturday.
First, I'm sure it's been made clear here on this podcast, the Spartans have played one of the toughest schedules across NAIA football, I think, to start the season. They've played 3 ranked teams now, from what I believe. They've already faced the number 1 team in the country and the number 3 team in the country. And Saturday, it was great to see Jacob Jones have success again. Just so all of our listeners know, Jacob Jones it would have been great if he did, but we've never had a quarterback here throw for 100 yards and rush for 100 yards in the same game. And he was just about 20 yards shy on the rushing side of that, which I do believe Jackson and Kevin, he may get that this season. It's great to see Calvin Griffin. He continues to have success. Lionel Banks rushed for 34 yards on Saturday, which was his season high in the game, I believe, which was good to see him get going as well. But Jacob Jones continues to lead the rushing attack with 75 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. But Kevin, I'm just impressed with what I see from Gavin Claude. He's someone I want to ask Coach B about when we get him in here coming off an injury. He continues to lead the Spartans in every single receiving category. So there's definitely some good things that we're seeing, but it's tough to have another loss.
Yeah, and also in that game, Evan DeWilde, 16 tackles in the game. That's a pretty big number as well. We're going to have a chance, I don't know, I didn't say it at the beginning. Jason Burianek will be our guest here in just a couple of minutes as we'll talk all things MBU football. The Spartans now 1-4 on the season. They're going to take the week off this week before they travel to William Penn in a couple of weeks. As we wrap up the look around all sports here at Missouri Baptist, just a quick update as men's and women's golf, as we record this, are taking part in actually hosting the MBU Invitational over at Spencer T. Olin. And then as far as women's and men's, actually tennis at Morningside on Saturday up in Sioux City, Iowa. So I think we covered every sport.
I think
right?
that was all.
I think so.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, head coach Jason Burianek will be our guest. We'll talk about the MBU football program. So stick with us. You're listening to the Spartan Up Podcast. Welcome back to the Spartan Up Podcast. It's great to be joined by Jason Burianek, head football coach here at Missouri Baptist. Jason, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the season, just in general. 1-4. Trevor was just talking about. You talked about it on a post game show. You'd be hard pressed to find any team that played a tougher schedule. I'm going to suggest that you send some kind of gift to Nick Rule, maybe break these games up a little bit next year. But tough start to the year, 1-4. Just your thoughts overall on how the season's gone thus far.
Well, I don't want to say that it's going the way that we had hoped it's going, but I think looking at the schedule coming in, it was very real for us, I think, to be 1-4 or 2-3 going into the bye week just because of how difficult it is. And, I think we went into some of those games saying that we can go and compete with them. And I think if you keep developing, obviously we had some injuries here and there, but we're a young football team. And so, when you go into when we did go into training camp, one of the things we talked about is our pillar of persistence, and we knew that we had to be mentally tough. And I think I even said it to maybe you during training camp, Jeff, maybe even off the air is, our mental toughness is going to be critical this year because of how tough and what does it look like to the bye week? Can we continue moving forward? So, again, it's not where we want to be, but with our schedule, I think the thing that I'm looking at is, are we getting progressively better? And although scores may or may not show that, I think that we are. You take the 2-point loss to Mid-Am, very winnable. A few things went their way in the end. But then you also look at really the first half of last week. We were rewatching the film this morning. I mean, we were less than a minute away from going in 14-7. So, there's a lot that we can build off of.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Gavin Claude. He missed all of last season due to injury, but this year, man, he's leading every single receiving category on the team. He's second all-time at MBU in career receptions, career receiving touchdowns. Like, what kind of impact has he had on your team offensively this season?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious with the stats, right? I mean, he is. It's great to have him back, especially when you lose Joe White in the offseason to the transfer portal. Having a guy step in like Gavin has been great. He's continues to get better. And I think the thing that we've challenged him with is in the run game, is being a good blocker in the run game. And he's starting to really take pride in that. And then that opens him up for other things. But when he gets the opportunity to make a play, he makes a big play. And that's been a huge asset to our offense.
You know me. We've known each other, 8, 9, 10 years, however long I've been around. But and you've been here since the beginning of the football program, so I'm not one that's quick to like anoint maybe one of the best players that have ever played here. But Jacob Jones has an opportunity, even after 5 games, has really shown flashes. He may be the best. He may rewrite the record books as far as quarterback. May be the best quarterback you guys have ever had here at MBU, just because of his dual threat. Really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And his dual threat is something that everybody has to prepare for. So I would definitely say he's the best dual threat quarterback we've had. Is it too soon to go on and say, because of what Jordan did and the records he broke and some of that, and taking nothing against the guys in the early years? But I think the biggest thing that I could say about him is he's the best game manager that we've ever had. He doesn't get rattled. That he makes plays when he needs to make plays. I think he makes good reads, smart decisions. And that is huge, rather than scrambling around and throwing the ball up that might get intercepted. He's able to use his legs or throw the ball away. Few sacks you'd like to have back, but he manages the game really well, and he's just really constant in how he approaches the game, which helps everybody on offense.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, the decision making as well. I've never felt through the first 5 games like, oh, he should have stuck in the pocket a little bit longer. Like he knows, he's got that clock in his head. Like, okay, I know that I can run, but that doesn't mean I'm going to run every time. He lets the offense set up a little bit in front of him and doesn't so quickly just pull the trigger like, hey, I'm going to take off.
Yeah, and I think that was really evident on the first drive. He got outside the pocket. He had an opportunity to make a play with his legs. Does he get the first down? I don't know, but he keeps his eyes downfield and hits Zay Jones
Mhm.
that gets a first down and a 3rd and long that keeps us going. And then obviously on the play that he scored on. So I totally agree. I mean, I think what he does is he's smart with the football. He makes the plays when it comes to him. He doesn't force things. It's just kind of even keel, and that's been a big addition to our offense.
Yeah, big point has been y'all's young defense. You got a very young defense, and they've you've talked about it. They do better, when they're listening to you and when you guys execute the game plan. I mean, I was talking to Cade Bescheid on the sideline, and he was like, he was actually, I only talked to him in the first half really, but like he was very impressed with how they did. That was a really tough. They're really big. Benedictine is just such a powerful team, but you guys did really well with that young squad against the 3rd ranked team in the country.
Yeah, and so what we've had to look at ourselves, as a defensive staff, we got to really focus on them, and I think that to credit to our defensive staff is we've just really simplified things. Now, Guy and I talked about it on the post-game show. Benedictine is the hardest team that we play on many levels, not just how big they are, not just their physicality and their, how good they are, but they do more pre-snap shifts and motions
Every play.
every play.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes 2 or 3 times, right? They'll move 3 guys to this side, motion a guy here, then motion another guy. If you aren't prepared for that, they will take advantage of a mismatch. They'll take advantage of guys not communicating well. So I'm really happy with where we were on that because I feel like game plan wise, we executed to a T. We didn't always execute within the play, and that's where just kind of their size got the best of us. We didn't get overblocked sometimes because they were bigger. We just didn't technique wise, but we didn't have those missed assignments that led to like blown plays. The 1 touchdown late where he was wide open. We were doing the right thing. We just didn't execute the play very well, but we didn't have those like looking around like, well, whose guy is that? And you can get in that situation really fast with them. So we knew we had to keep it simple. We've got young guys. That's how we've got to go do it. And when we do that, they're able to start playing with more confidence.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about the freshman linebacker, Justin Len. He's really made a name for himself this year, and he's stepped up in the linebacker room. He's 2nd on the team in tackles with 27. I talked to Coach Lillibridge before the game on Saturday, and he said, let's start this man's freshman All-American campaign. He really wants to get that going. Can you speak to how he's performed as a freshman this year for your squad?
Yeah, so we have 2 guys. I mean, you mentioned one of them, Justin, is playing at a very, very high level. And then the other one, Kenner Bai. And, Kenner didn't have the same tackles, and I know he was kind of frustrated with that. That was really a game plan deal because of what Benedictine does, that if you don't line people up right, they're going to get you in some bad mismatches that we wanted to avoid. I'll kind of answer your question in a second, but like going back a little bit, Benedictine wants to play chess and force everybody else to play checkers. I felt like we played chess because we were still accounting 2 or 3 moves ahead of what they were going to do, and we were talking about that all week. So that's why we simplified it, but they did a great job. Most of people don't understand this part of it, but just like an offense has audibles, we had a 3 and 4 level audible system within our defensive calls on Saturday that they all had to call from the field based on what they were getting. And for them to execute that was awesome. Justin did a tremendous job of executing. He made some great plays, not just in the pass game, but also in the run game. He's a guy that is extremely intelligent. So we have moved him, which is very rare for a freshman. We've moved him to 3 different positions since we started training camp, and he knows them all. And that's pretty rare for a freshman. And then on top of that, if you just come watch the guy practice, he practices at an elite level. Like for a young guy to understand that, he runs full speed on every play he's in. And that's why he's successful. The great ones, the last, I don't want to necessarily the last guy because there's several, but 2 guys that jump into my head as doing that as young players was Joe King and Jalen Cowley. and both of them were tremendous players. But it's how you prepare, it's how you practice, and he understands that.
Two-part question for you, and you can take this any direction that you want. What do you think, going into the season, you obviously had your expectations, personnel-wise, record-wise, everyone knew what the schedule looked like early. But, what do you think has been your biggest surprise of the season in a good way? And then maybe what's been your biggest disappointment so far?
That's a great question. I think my biggest surprise is twofold. One of them being Calvin Griffin
Mhm.
and our running backs. I felt like we had a really deep room, right? You get Lionel back and it's awesome, and then Calvin, but Calvin brings so much to the table in regards to his special teams play, what he's able to do in the pass game. And so to have a guy like Lionel who can run the ball, then you can throw him in there. And then Jared Stewart, who came, hurt his knee, but we've been using him as a wideout a whole lot to get him reps. So I think that's one area that I'm really pleased with. Our linebackers is another one, because coming in, we thought we were deep at linebacker, and all of a sudden we're not, right? I mean, Kay Beachide tears his Achilles in the first week. We have a couple other guys, but for these two freshmen to step up, and I don't want to exclude, Nick Stepney is Nick Stepney. He's been kind of that guy. But Evan DeWilde, man, I mean, this guy every week shows up, and this is really his first time playing.
We talked about that. 16 tackles against Benedictine on Saturday.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's awesome. And this is a guy who's been waiting in the wings, just trying to find where did he fit. And truth be told, Evan's maybe not on the field if Cade's healthy. He's not playing as much, or we got to figure it out. But he's made the most of his opportunity. So those are some really, really high points in my mind. I think disappointment, and probably just because I'm with them every day, is in the secondary. Like, we've just given up too many big plays through the first 5 games, and I know that we have so many freshmen and sophomores there. So there's just a lot of coaching and a lot of teaching that's going on there, and I don't want to be too hard on them, but it's just an area where we knew they had to grow up fast, and now it's time, and they're starting to do that. Kevon Griffin's starting to make some really good plays. Jalen Williamson starting to kind of understand things. So, and then a guy, Herman Burks has been good back there, but Javon Huff is really, I think, really starting to ratchet his game up also.
In the transfer portal era of college athletics, now getting a guy like Jalen Williamson in the transfer portal, he leads the team with 7 pass breakups. He's tied for second in tackles on the team with Justin Lynn. I mean, what kind of presence has he brought to your secondary for you this season?
Yeah, I think he's done a lot of good there. I think there's still a lot of learning that, I know we run a higher level defense, and when he was at CMU, they didn't really use him a whole lot. They used him as a nickel, and so getting a chance to play every down, this is really the first time he's played as much as he is in college. So he's still kind of a newbie, but the one thing I'll say about him is he's tough. He's not afraid to fill in the run. His tackles show of that.
Yeah.
We're working on his ball skills. Obviously, Graceland, he struggled. There were some calls that I felt should not have gone that way, but at the same token, we are working, and he works so hard at those little things. And, if we can keep developing him, there's a chance we can get him for one more year, and he can just continue to improve.
And on the other side of him is redshirt freshman Cortland Johnson, Colorado native.
Yeah.
He's played pretty well this season for you too.
Yeah, him and Kevon both. CJ's been again another guy who he tore his ACL in his senior year of high school, so missed his senior year, sat out, redshirted last year for the most part. Didn't even start practicing until halfway through, and then this is his first time ever playing corner. He was a running back in high school, so again, a guy that has a clean slate. That we're just trying to teach and develop, and we have a lot of guys back there like that. You just don't know in the transfer portal world, but you hope that you can keep those guys here, at least the core of them, and there's a lot of really good things and on the horizon there.
Let's talk a little bit about obviously, the history of the MBU football program. You led it from the very beginning, and I know you've been through it too. The frustrating years where you win 1 and 2 games, and you win 4, and then you take a step back. Last year, you break through, you get to 6, and this year, 1 and 4 on the year. It's hard to mark progress when everyone else in the conference has a number next to their name. Honestly, I mean, let's be honest about that. But I know you're not going to be happy if you guys finish 4 and 6 or maybe even 5 and 5. I mean, you want forward progression. What will it take for the program to get to the next level? To where you are, you know, winning games against Benedictine and winning games every once in a while, even against Grandview and stuff like that. What is that next step, you think, for the program?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's something that I evaluate probably more than anybody.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like I look at that stuff every day. The first thing I always do is look within. So I'll just speak to that because I think that there's some external factors university-wide that just got to continue going, like are moving in the right direction, but have to continue. Internally, I think a couple things jump out. Number one is consistency in our staff. How do you do that? It's tough, but as much consistency as we can have, the better. Last year, one of the things that I pointed to as to our success was the fact that in our history, it was the first time that we had the entire staff back for a second year with no change. This year, we lost 3, maybe 4 coaches because we hired no line coach in the spring that didn't end up coming and being here in the fall. So that affects things, it just affects continuity, just trying to get guys up to speed. I think that's a big piece of it. When we look at Benedictine this past week, we've got to continue to recruit guys that are bigger and stronger. We've got big guys. I feel like we're doing that, but we've got to start getting even bigger. I mean, they are across the board massive.
Right.
Grandview the same way. And I think if you look at college football, guys at our level are starting to take bigger bodies that they may not move great, but they're bigger bodies.
Mhm.
And that's never been our philosophy, but we kind of have to start adapting to what everybody else is doing too. So, I mean, those are a few things that we have to do to continue to move in the right direction. I mean, you've been here darn near as long as I have.
Mhm.
It's laughable in a way. There's nothing we can do about it, but when we joined the Mid-States win 6 of the first 8 national titles
Right.
that we're in.
Mhm. Then
We
you
jump-
go in the heart.
We joined the Heart, and then Grandview wins the national title, and Benedictine is 50 seconds from playing from the national title.
Right.
So I'm not saying this that I wish that we were in a easier league, but it's a lot easier to measure progress if you're in the KCAC. If you're in another league that doesn't have the top to bottom depth that the Heart of America has. I mean, just look at the week after we play Graceland, Clark beats Graceland.
Mhm.
Culver is continuing to get better. So I mean, that's the great thing about the Heart, but I think we also have to be realistic. It is the SEC,
Sure.
and to expect everybody to be at the top year in and year out, it's one of those things. How does the ball bounce? How does your schedule set up? And there's a lot of ball left, so we've got to go and make some hay in these last 5. But it becomes a mental challenge for us as well, myself included. But the only thing we know how to do is just keep working and keep grinding and keep doing the things that we know work.
Yeah, and talk about you got this bye week. You get a little bit of a break before you guys head up to Oskaloosa. What are we working on the most in this 2-week span?
Getting back to just fundamentals and technique, I think when you get into the season, you start losing that a little bit because you're working on scheme and game plan and this or that, and just getting back to the basics, getting our guys healthy. William Penn's another good football team, and so it just keeping our mindset that we're ready to go and compete. this might be incorrect. Okay. So I'm just, and people might say, oh, well, you're just tooting your own horn a little bit. But I was talking to Coach Heck the other day is I feel like even going back to when we were in the mid states that we're a team that hasn't always had all the things that the top level teams have in sense of scholarship money, staff, you name it. But I feel like we probably overachieve as much or more than some of those teams that we're kind of on an even playing field with. You know, I mean, for us, 14-7 with a minute left against number 3, that was fantastic. You know what I mean? And so we got to focus on those wins. We got to focus on those positive things for our guys because they're not happy. They're not happy being 1-4. You know, they're not happy losing games. That takes a toll on them. So we just got to keep loving them up and letting them know that, hey, look, we're on the right track. And like I said in the post game, what I keep telling them, when you're swinging that axe, chopping that tree down, you don't know when that tree is going to fall. And it's a big tree. You know, I mean, the heart of America is a big tree to knock down. And so we've just got to keep chopping. We got to keep developing, and we got to figure out how to keep them here year to year. And we're getting better at that. But it's a grind. There's no doubt.
You made it through the first half, front-loaded part of your schedule. Then you come back, you're at ranked William Penn, you're at Missouri Valley, home against Baker, senior night against CMU, and then at William Woods. I mean, with this second half schedule, anything is really possible, Coach. It's all in front of you.
No question. And I think that's what we talked about coming into training camp. It's what we talked about this morning in our staff meeting. It's what we'll talk about in our team meeting this afternoon is, you know, let's take one game at a time. I think the thing that our guys have done a really good job about is not focusing on the opponent and just preparing day in and day out in the same fashion. So with that, you know, I mean, there's a ton of opportunity on that schedule. You know, there's not one where our guys should go in and be like, oh man, we haven't seen that before. You know, I mean, we've seen the best. I think seeing Grandview early helped us against Benedictine, right? I mean, it was what could we take out of that Grandview into this game? And, you know, I thought that there were some things that they did really well. So the way we look at it, we have every opportunity to finish 6-4. And finishing 6-4 with this schedule would be, in my view, a huge win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's we just got to take it one game at a time. But like you said, there's tons of opportunity there.
We always end these podcasts in the same way, every coach that we talk to. So I'll just put this, you can take this question any direction that you want to. If you were not a football coach, what would you be doing?
Man, that is tough. I have no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, the easy answer is I'd probably just be working on the farm, and doing some of that until I could figure out what I was going to do.
What you want to do with your life?
Yeah, because I mean, the honest answer to that is from the time I was probably 12 years old, I knew I wanted to coach. You know, I mean, from the time I was 12 years old, I'd sit in front of the TV and I'd break down basketball games and, you know, with the VCR and draw plays. And
do you guys know what a VCR is?
Yeah, they probably do. Probably don't.
Watch Toy Story on that growing up.
Yeah, okay.
But, well, that's only because you're from Colorado and we're like way in the past. But no, I mean, like for my whole life, I knew I wanted to coach. So, you know, I definitely enjoy the farm aspect of, you know, the blessings that we get with living on my wife's family's farm and being a part of that. But I'd probably maybe go back to teaching. I spent 4 years in the classroom prior to becoming a full-time college coach. And I think for me, it's about helping young people, you know, teaching, helping them develop in some way, shape, or form. It's kind of what I feel like is my calling, so to speak. So something along those lines, probably.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate the time. And I know, speaking for all of us here, best of luck with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you. It's great being here.
Thank you, Coach
Jason Burianek. And we'll be back to wrap things up on the Spartan Up Podcast in a moment. We are back to wrap it up here on the Spartan Up Podcast. We end the podcast, as we always do, by talking about what we are most excited about as far as MBU athletics is concerned this week. And we first go to Trevor Rich. What is most exciting to you about MBU athletics this week?
First, let me just say, men's basketball home opener, women's basketball, that's not coming up for a minute, but it's coming in
cheating.
November.
All right, go.
But I have a couple things I want to say. Tonight,
Trevor's like, I don't get on this thing very often, so I just got to get it all out there.
tonight, Jackson and I will be shooting the intro video for men's basketball, which will
Nice.
be revealed at the home opener in November. And I'm really excited for you all to see Jackson's creativity with that. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
He's okay at that stuff. I mean,
He's pretty good. So I'm excited for that. Basketball season's going to be great around here. Second, I'm really excited for tennis to hit the court again this week. Shout out to our ITA doubles champions, Sebastian and Luca. They were able to pick up a title a few weeks ago, so I'm really excited to see them back on the court. And I think tennis, both on the men's and women's side, according to our head coach, Scott Goodyear, they're both going to compete for the Hart Conference Championship, so I'm excited to see them play again.
Awesome. And Jackson, what about you? Go ahead and steal my idea. You always do.
I know. Well, I might not this week, but I'm always excited to have volleyball back at home. Doesn't get any better. Those are just some fun, fun games. I'm always excited to see AMC rival William Woods come back to the house. I'm excited to see our fans in the homestand probably tomorrow night against Culver. I got to go to the Culver-Stockton match a couple weeks ago up in Canton, so I've already seen what that team can do, and I'm ready for the women to continue their Hart home stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And they could use some home cooking, if you will, get back on their winning ways. I actually did win at Missouri Valley on Friday night, but get back at home. And, speaking of that, before I get to what I'm most excited about, I didn't realize, and I should have, on the broadcast on Saturday, like we played anyway, Benedictine on October 4th. The football team doesn't come back until November 1st. Like, that's their only October game. And so even in the middle of a 1-4 start, they get a bye week, but then they go on the road twice before they ever even come back home.
And there's only 2 home games left.
Exactly. And they're back-to-back weeks, by the way, in case you're wondering. November 1st is Baker, and then November 8th, which is homecoming, that's Central Methodist. Those are the 2 remaining home games. So what am I most excited about? I'm going to go back to the same thing that I talked about last week, and I'm cheating a little bit because I have looked at the early results, but the MBU Invitational, the men's and women's golf getting back to action. I think that's pretty exciting, and just what they've been able to do, checking the live scoring and things like that. So really, Justin and the team trying to put together sort of a marquee event on the golf schedule. Anyway, is what I'm most excited about. Why are you laughing at me, Jackson?
I mean, I was just. That's not what I thought you were gonna say. It was.
What did you think I was gonna say?
I don't know, but golf was probably the farthest from my mind on the list of things that were going on this week. Last time at Spencer T. So.
And you just got back from there this morning.
I did. Always as pretty as ever. Love Spencer T.
Absolutely. So, well, that's going to do it for the Spartan Up Podcast. Trevor, how was it? Did we treat you well?
This was fantastic. I'd love to come back again.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll have our people talk to your people. And
sounds good. Call my agent.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be the Spartan Up Podcast for this week. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, have them all tune in, and we'll be back with you next week on the Spartan Up Podcast.